Hey everyone, it's Matt from the Catch Company. It's a beautiful day on the water and I'm here to talk to you about some beautiful baits. This month, the Catch Company paired up with Lucky Craft, one of the premier lure designers and manufacturers in the entire world. We've brought 5 Lucky Craft baits in 5 fish catching colors. And the first bait that I'm here to talk about is the Lucky Craft Sammy. I really like this Aurora Pro Blue color. It does such a great job of mimicking lots of different bait fish all across the country, so it's a really universal color. I'm throwing this on a 6'9" medium heavy action rod with a super fast tip, 30-pound braid, and a 7.3:1 gear ratio reel. That way when a fish strikes, I can catch up with it because a lot of times those fish hit it with a lot of speed. This area right here is a shallow flat between a few islands. There's grass that comes up within a couple feet of the surface, and this is just a typical walk the dog bait. When you're walking it back to the boat, a steady retrieve is generally best. At rest, this bait will sit almost entirely vertical because there's a lot of weight in that tail. That tail weight makes it really easy to cast, and also it improves the action. As you can see here, when I work this Sammy back to the boat, I don't really want to move the bait with my reel, I want to move the bait with my rod tip. So one thing to think about is you want to twitch the rod tip on a slack line. That will allow the bait to really walk back and forth best. The Sammy is a perfect topwater bait, especially for these conditions. It's awesome when the water's slick flat like this. You can experiment with different retrieves too, more subtle. Oh, there's one right there. Nice. Little largemouth it looks like. All right. And as I was saying, you can experiment with different retrieves. And if you notice, I paused it just for one moment and that fish came up and smoked it. The water's crystal clear and I didn't even see that fish. That's how good at camouflage they are. Of course, hooked them perfectly. These hooks are sticky sharp from Lucky Craft. Awesome. Beautiful fish. There he goes. Next up from Lucky Craft, we have the SKT DR. This was designed with Skeet Reese Pro Elite Series Angler. He wanted a medium diving crankbait with a square bill. And this is a perfect crankbait because right here behind us, we have a beaver dam. So there's a lot of wood and a lot of cover down there to get snagged up on. But this bill design gets it to the right depth and also prevents a lot of snags. I'm fishing this on 12-pound fluorocarbon with a 6'9" medium action rod. It's got a lot of parabolic bend so that when a fish bites, it'll load up. And a slow gear ratio reel, 5.4:1. We're gonna make a long cast to this beaver dam and retrieve it nice and slow once it gets down to the diving depth. I'm feeling the different stumps and the different sticks that the beavers have brought there. This bait has a nice tight wobble because it's relatively flat-sided. It's a pretty small bait too, which makes it perfect for smaller fish and also smallmouth and spotted bass. This is the Aurora Black color, so it's the chrome blue and silver sides with a nice contrasting black back. When you're fishing a crankbait like this, feel free to vary your retrieves. You can go nice and slow, just so that that rod tip is barely bouncing, or you can pick it up every once in a while. Pop it even, just to see what the fish are looking for. Let the fish tell you what kind of retrieve they prefer. Next up, it's the flat Cb D12. As the name suggests, this bait dives 12 feet deep. It's a pretty wide-bodied, deep diving crankbait. So for that reason, I'm fishing it on a 7'11" medium action glass rod with a parabolic bend and a really slow 5.4:1 gear ratio reel. This is the ghost brown color. It's a little translucent on the belly, which makes it really good for clear water. But it also has this nice contrasting dark back, which makes it perfect for a little bit of stained water as well. You can see a tungsten ball here in the middle that when you rotate the bait like this, slides to the tail. That means it's super castable because when you cast the bait, that's what happens in the air. Let me demonstrate how easy it is to cast. You can flip it out there 35, 40 yards, no problem. As you see, this bait dives deep very quickly. I've brought us over here to a shallow point. We're sitting in about 4 feet of water, but it tapers off into about 20 feet out there. So I'm going to cast out off of the point and then bring it back uphill so that it's keeping bottom contact as it comes back up into the shallower water. And with this bait, you want to reel it nice and slow. Here we are in the middle of the summer. These deep diving crankbaits really perform well at a slow retrieve when the water's warm like it is today. But also don't be afraid to experiment with different retrieval speeds as well. The nice thing about this long rod, you can make really super long casts. And I try to crank it down at a quick speed to get it deep, and then I slow down so that bait is barely thumping along down in the bottom. It's pretty warm water here, so I'm going to experiment with a slow retrieve at first, but I'll also pick up the pace every once in a while, kill it, and reel it back to the boat. All right guys, this next bait I'm super excited about. This is really difficult to find in the United States. It's called a classical leader, 55 size. We worked directly with Lucky Craft to source this to the United States. Apparently it's one of their best sellers in Japan. It comes in just 4 or 5 really unique colors. This one's called Cream Soda. It's got a lot of chartreuse, blue on the top, and it's a matte finish. Really beautiful looking bait, super unique. I've never seen anything like it here in the States. And it comes in cool packaging also. We're fishing some riprap bank here by the boat dock, and we're gonna see if we can find any fish. I see one cruising right there actually right now, so it's a good sign. This crankbait, you can experiment with lots of different retrieval speeds, but I like to go fast, burn it back to the boat, kill it every once in a while. It's very buoyant, so it floats really fast. When you're reeling it fast like this, it tends to kick out to the side and hunt, is what they call that action, which does a good job of triggering strikes. I'm fishing this just on a 6'9" medium action rod, glass rod, with a 6.3:1 gear ratio reel, and 10-pound fluorocarbon because it's pretty clear water here. I'm still not exactly sure how close these bass are to the bank, so instead of casting parallel to the bank, I'm staying a little bit further off and casting at a 45-degree angle. So when I'm doing that, I'm trying to target different depths. When I cast it into shallow water, I want to reel it with the rod tip high, just to keep it from getting hung up in the weeds and the rocks. As it gets closer to the boat, and starts to get a little bit deeper, I will lower my rod tip slowly, and that'll help that bait dive deeper as the water gets deeper. And as the bank continues to taper off, I'll just finish up the cast with my rod tip at the water level, and that's how I keep the bait just above the bottom of the lake the entire time. Don't be afraid to throw that really shallow and bounce it on rocks on the way back. When you get it stuck, usually you can just do the bow and arrow trick and get it loose. Just like that. In recent years, for some reason, the jerkbait has been pigeonholed into just a cold water bait. But let me tell you, it's a great summertime bait as well. And here we've got the Lucky Craft Pointer 95 size. This isn't the slender pointer that's become really popular in cold water. This is a little bit fatter bodied, and it's also silent, which makes it really good for these super clear water bass. I really love throwing a jerkbait in the summer. The key is just working it a little bit faster than you would in the spring or winter. I've lost tournaments to lots of guys when I was throwing flukes or topwater baits and they were throwing jerkbaits during the summer. So I learned my lesson, and I'm gonna throw this a little bit around today. What we have here is an island with a grass line that comes out, that extends about 15 feet off the bank, and just a little bit of ripple on the water, which is pretty key for a jerkbait, especially when you're moving it fast. I'm fishing this on a medium action rod with 10-pound fluorocarbon line and a fast action reel because I want to move this bait quick. Just like when you're fishing a jerkbait in the winter, you want to move this bait on a slack line so that it has the most action it can possibly have. But the difference now is you're working it a lot faster than you would in the winter. There's one right there. That was quick. First cast on the jerkbait might be the ticket today. Feels like it's a decent sized fish, not a giant, but here he is coming up. All right. On the Lucky Craft Pointer 95, Table Rock Shad color. It's a beautiful color. It's a very faint chartreuse with the purple back. Nice little largemouth, and you'd see he was in the grass. That fish bit it when I was moving the bait. What you'll find oftentimes in cold water is bass will bite a jerkbait when it's sitting still, but this fish was aggressive and it ate it when it was moving. I also saw a couple of fish follow it up to the boat, so I think we've got a pretty good spot here. Another thing you can notice about this bait, They actually have a little bit larger hook on the front than on the back, which makes it sit nose down in the water. It's a nice little piece of engineering that Lucky Craft does. Lucky Craft pays attention to the details more so than almost any other company out there. I'll tell you, I sat down just this week at ICAST with one of their head sales guys and lure designers, and it's amazing the different steps and the amount of time that goes behind developing one of these baits. They work extensively with their pro staff, Brent Erler, Skeet Reese, Takahiro Omori, to make sure that they have those baits exactly right to those pro specifications to help those pros be more successful in tournaments. And if it's good enough for those guys, it's good enough for us. There you have it, guys. 5 awesome baits from an amazing premium company like Lucky Craft. Happy to partner up with them to bring you guys these baits at a great price. And until next time, tight lines.